Hello and welcome back to another one of our videos, this time coming from qualifying for Formula St. George at round 2 of the St. George Sprint Series. We're out on the SV650 in the Formula St. George class this weekend. There's a mixed bag. There is a lot of Moto3 bikes out, the Honda NSF 250s, which is going to mean we're going to have some great battles. Coming into this weekend, we've had some suspension and setup work done with Rob from Wellsprung Motorcycle Suspension, just to make the bike a bit stiffer and just sort the geometry out a bit better, considering the issues we had at the last round. And we did some tuning work with Craig at C&M Motorcycles in Ingleburn to try to eke out a little bit more performance from the SV and sort some fueling issues out. So it seems that we've managed that. This is a couple of laps into qualifying. I set a good lap time. As I could see on my timer, and I'm also working with using the pit board for the first time in the Sprint Series. Here now you can see me just going past that rider in the pink bib. That is Caroline. This was her first race meeting. She's part of the Irish group of riders, and I'm good friends with a lot of them. So towards the end of this qualifying session, I jumped in front because I know she was a bit nervous entering her first race meeting, having only done a handful of track days. So jumped in front, kind of got my mentor hat on a little bit and dragged her around for a couple of laps, and actually pretty funnily and pretty happily for me, pulled her along to a new personal best for her. We're coming into the start of race 1. You can see the weather has changed just a little bit. It was nice and sunny earlier for qualifying. The weather kind of came across, clouds came in. The forecast for the day was for no rain, but as you can see, we're lining up and it has started to rain. Well, most of us at the front are on slicks, and with that weather falling in, we were actually all looking around at each other on the grid like, oh, what are we going to do? You know, we're all on slicks. It's declared a dry race. It's starting to rain pretty hard. We're all kind of, making the symbol at each other, the three of us on the front row, like, what are we going to do? We want to call the race. We want to delay it. They declared it a dry race. It was just up to us. If we didn't want to race, we had to pull off the line. It's also gotten very windy, you can see with the red flag. So make the decision to keep going. We actually get a fairly decent launch here on the SV, but you can see here it's raining a lot. We have Marshall on the white flag indicating that it is raining in that sector. So coming through turn 1 here, you can see I have a couple of moments, slicks that are cooling off pretty rapidly, and then on a damp track it's pretty dicey. You can see the wave white flag as JJ comes screaming past. These younger riders have far more intestinal fortitude than me, we'll call it. And you can see that they've got an exceptional level of skill and feel that they're able to push through. They've all been racing ASPK in mixed conditions, so they have a bit more experience in this than I. And that's on me. I just need to learn to go a bit harder. You can see that it's damp here and there as young Cameron Dunker comes past me around the outside, a nice move at 5. All these marshals are volunteer marshals, and we actually had a shortage of marshals for this event, so we had some very last minute volunteers come in. So to see them all working so efficiently and working so well together and communicating with us riders, that was such a positive thing to see. And again, a huge thanks has to go out to those marshals and the teams that provided their staff as well. That was people from pit crews that were taking up the mantle to go make sure that the racing could go ahead. So an enormous amount of gratitude and thanks goes to them. You can see Dunker and JJ up ahead. They're starting to pull away from me here. They're just pushing a lot harder than me. This here, though, is where you can see the big advantage of the SV650, even in the mild state of tune that we've got it, relative to the smaller capacity bikes. When we have tricky conditions like this, where they can't use their monumental corner speed, the extra torque that the SV has down low allows us to make up a bit of a make a difference on the straights. Again, the old saying, there's no replacement for displacement. In tricky conditions like this, we're able to kind of keep up more from engine performance rather than rider performance. In full dry conditions though, we're all about the same level of pace, because the way I make a lap time is very different to the way they make a lap time, but we're all around the same kind of lap time as you can see, and as you'll see later. Now the conditions continue to change. You see the sun's coming out, blue skies coming over. The white flags have been withdrawn, meaning it's no longer raining in that sector. You can see Cameron throwing the foot out there, rubbing it on the ground. And that's pretty much just to test grip conditions on entry into the corner. He was saying when I spoke to him in the pits that, if he feels that it's slippery under his boot, he doesn't peel in quite as hard. When I start to catch him here, that's one of the, I won't say dangers, but one of the things about leading a race in mixed conditions like this. You're the first person, you're the guinea pig coming across the conditions and the changing conditions. So I was able to catch and pass Dunker there because I was watching what was happening with him. Now I'm in the lead. I see rain spots on my visor, rain spots on the screen coming into turn 1 at over 200 kilometres an hour. White flags out, and I back off. I've crashed in this corner before. It's expensive and painful. So I back off, and you just see there Cameron Swain comes flying past me. So now, there's 3 different young riders have come past me. Now, the talent and the cojones on these juniors is next level. Like Cameron Swain here in front of us. He's actually going to be in the Asia Talent Cup at the Japanese MotoGP round. He was selected for that. He's raced 2 rounds already this year. To be selected for that championship, you have to be top tier rider, top tier talent. So to be racing with someone like Cameron Swain here is actually pretty massive. Cameron Dunker has been selected to go race in the Asia Talent Cup next year. JJ is racing at ASBK Supersport 300 this year. All 3 of them are racing Supersport 300 this year. All 3 of them have had podiums. Some of them have had wins. So the skill level on show is massive. So to be, while they are juniors, they're young riders. For me to be even competing with them on our bike, is actually pretty massive. And I'll say it, like it's a pretty massive honour for me to be able to say that I'm keeping up with riders that are going to world level in the very near future and next year as well. Getting back to the race, you can see that the white flags have all started to make a reappearance. You can see there's a lot of rain over to the right. There was a lot of squalls just moving past the track, and it was very odd in a way. Like we're just coming out of winter now, and that sunlight had a lot of heat in it. So the track actually did absorb a decent amount of heat, meaning it was burning the water off track pretty readily. So each lap you'd come around, you see there, turn 2 the next lap, the white flags were withdrawn, and Dunker in front of me is nearly elbow down. You can see the condition has come back to us, and we're able to start pushing again. You hear me clip the limiter there. I'm chasing these chaps around, starting to go faster than I ever have before. Again, it was the same with the RS660s at the endurance round. I'm pushing harder than I have ever ridden a motorcycle, and purely to try to combat these riders that have exceptional talent. And I know I sound like I'm going on, but it is very hard, and I am trying very hard to keep up with them. I'm able to throw a bit of a move here on Dunker, because I can see that the conditions are coming back to us. Counting down the laps, I can see that there's a little bit of lap traffic coming up, meaning that we're getting probably towards the end of the race. And that's Cameron Swain in first position up ahead. Coming onto the straight here, we're just catching Caroline, doing an outstanding job in her first race meeting to get towards the end of the race before being lapped is pretty incredible. These races as well were 11 minutes plus 1 lap. You see the last lap board in the tower there. So 11 minutes plus 1 lap. So depending on how fast you're going, you might do more laps or might do less laps. With the weather coming in, we were actually doing less laps than anticipated because we weren't lapping as quickly, of course. Now when I crossed the line to start the last lap, I was just over 1 second. The conditions had been pretty good. The previous lap, there was no white flags. I'm looking pretty far ahead, just to try to see if there's any white flags. There's none, so I decided to push. I could see Swain pretty far ahead. I feel Cameron was probably taking it a little bit easier considering the changing conditions. But again, I said before, I have a yardstick. I can see that Cameron isn't crashing and he's riding back to kind of normal limit. So I pushed to my normal limit to try to chase him down. You can see we're making about the same lap time. There's just a few places that I have a bit more of an advantage. Generally, it's under braking here into 9 and into 6. I get a little bit off the corner with the little extra torque of the SV, but you can see towards the end of that back straight, Swain's actually starting to move away. Now into this, Philippe Philop at the end of the lap, between 10 and 11. I don't think on the weekend in either Formula St George or 600 I really saw someone better me through there, so I was able to gain a massive advantage there on Cameron. And for the first time ever, I was actually able to draft and pass a Moto3 bike with the RSV. So the suspension setup, the chassis setup that we have made has allowed me to kind of use the bike a bit better. The extra bit of tuning that we have has helped us down the straight as well, and being able to actually keep up with and pass a Honda NSF 250 Moto3 bike. And it's really cool. Cameron, I thought might have been a bit upset. He's a fairly young individual, just been pipped to the line in a motorcycle race, and he was actually super pumped, super congratulatory to me, thumbs up and fist bumps, and that was really cool. That was really cool for me, actually. So starting race 2, again, weather looks mostly okay, but we'll see how that unfolds. Another good launch for us. Again, the torque helping us off the line. One thing I didn't mention before was we're starting this weekend on the tyres from last weekend. So I've done the tyres that are in the bike at the moment, did my full second stint in the Enduro. So that's 45 odd minutes, 20 something odd laps. So they're not cooked, but they're not the freshest of tyres. So, which is pretty surprising realistically that we were able to go out and smash pretty decent lap times when the conditions allowed it. See Cameron Swain there pulling an amazing manoeuvre on me around the outside at turn 2. Now I've always felt that my turn 2 is pretty good, but that highlights that it can be better, which is what's awesome about riding with these young up-and-coming riders that just constantly riding, practicing, putting the work in to improve themselves. They show me where my shortcomings are, and you saw there, Cameron was able to go around the outside of me at 2 with his far better line. So I was like, you know what, I'm going to follow him, see what he does. And it forces me to improve myself, which then improves my lap time. To beat these juniors, to beat any rider, you need to watch them, learn from them, and try to bring that into your own repertoire. And that's one of the awesome things of riding in this class, where you've got the constant talent pool is changing. People may say what they say about me constantly staying in this class on the SV doing what we're doing, but for me, the level of improvement and improving my riding ability in this class is just enormous, and so much fun. To race these, ostensibly kids that are absolutely nailing it around the track with bravery far far higher than anyone else on the grid realistically. It's pretty awesome. I really love it. So yeah, I've taken the lead again there after Cameron passed me in 2. So this is 1 or 2 laps later, and all of a sudden you can see the white flag in the distance into one, and then it just absolutely starts to bucket down. Now, again, I've crashed here. I don't want to deal with that again. And out of nowhere, Dunker passes us. So that trio that I've been dicing with were obviously right behind me. You see Dunker there, he's got the foot out, testing the waters. He's felt the track surface was a bit slippery on his boot, and he decided not to send it into the corner. He's picked it up, run a little bit wide. Doing the smart thing, rather than crashing, just running wide, and if someone were to pass him, so be it. Now we're all very tentative. You can see the lead angle isn't there. Dunker, all of them are normally nearly elbow down. We're not even getting knee down here. Low RPM. Cameron Swain's come past me, so we've got Cameron, Swain and Dunker in front. See just how gingerly we're riding through here. There's a lot of water came down in one big squall. Again, great job from the marshals communicating the conditions to us with the white flag. And turn 9 was actually quite treacherous. It was very slippery. See JJ coming around the outside of me there, looking at me like, why are you going so slow, old man? And then he just goes full send. Which is really impressive because these conditions are super tricky, and he's still nearly elbow down. Now we have one of the Nelsons come past me as well. Another SSP300 runner. So there again, you can see the torque advantage that we have coming onto the straight in those low grip conditions. Now in this class, we do have Moto3 NSF Honda 250s, we've got the R3s, the 400s, and then myself on the SV650. When you look at it, the specs of the machines, while my bike has a higher horsepower figure, it's the power to weight ratio that we need to look at. The Honda NSF 250 weighs 84 kilos, has something like 48 horsepower, meaning its power to weight ratio is very, very good. The thing is a little weapon. The R3s and 400s, the Kawasaki 400s in ASPK spec, they're much the same. They're a lot lighter. Yes, they've got less horsepower, but they do have a very decent power to weight ratio. So you look at the weight of our SV650, our SV actually weighs more than one of these young riders on Honda NSF 250. Their combined bike and rider weight is still less than just our bike weight. Two Nelsons come through just at the green flag, so that's okay. I'm able to get them down the back straight here. We're all being gentle off that corner because again it looks like it's still raining, so I'm able to out-torque them off the corner. At this point I wasn't sure what lap we were on. I kind of lost count with the changeable conditions. Couldn't see my lap timer, was focusing on what was going on out on track. And actually going down the straight there, I missed seeing the last lap board. You can see the conditions are coming really good, just like in the first race. I thought, okay, all right. I was anticipating coming down the straight now would be when I saw the last lap board. And I was thinking, all right, now I'm going to push, see if I can close the gap now. It's a 1.5 or 1.8 second gap here in front of me now. But I was able to close up a similarly sized gap in the first race, and they were starting to engage in a bit of combat. And I thought, oh, I might be able to catch them. Alas, I hadn't seen the last lap board on the previous lap, so that any kind of plan that I'd made kind of went out the window because I came down here to the checkered flag, finishing 4th. Now, at the time, I was pretty displeased with myself for missing that last lap board, but in reality, with the conditions, I kept it upright. I was doing still fairly competitive lap times for most of it. Just these talented young riders in front of me were able to push a lot faster, a lot harder, and more comfortable with those conditions. So, massive congratulations to those riders, Cameron, JJ, and Cameron, riding really well, well-deserved results. So we had some great results in Formula St. George. We come to the end of Saturday, so we had the qualifying in 2 races. Moving into Sunday, the weather is looking like it is supposed to be a lot better. We're thinking about throwing some new tyres into it and doing a few more adjustments to the bike to see if we can push to be a little bit quicker, just to make sure that we're a bit more on par with the Camerons and JJ. See if we can push for a few more wins, and hopefully it'll be some PB weather. So if you enjoy the video, please consider liking and subscribing, dropping a comment below, and keep an eye out for the next one to see some even better combat.
How's your bike? You'll be on the highlights reel.